My name is Chloe, and up until about 6 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life, or at least, the life I was supposed to have. We lived in Austin, in a nice two-story house in a quiet suburb just north of the city. I had a great job in marketing, good title, good money. And I had Liam. Liam was, well, he was Liam. Sweet, stable, reliable. He's a software engineer for one of those big tech companies downtown. He's the kind of guy who remembers your coffee order, who fixes the leaky faucet without being asked, who is genuinely happy to just sit on the couch and watch a documentary about, I don't know, the history of concrete. He was safe. He was my husband. And I think for a long time, that was enough. We met in college at UT. I was the ambitious sorority girl with a plan, and he was the quiet, smart guy in my statistics class who helped me pass. He was a rock. While all my friends were dating these dramatic, unpredictable guys who would break their hearts, I had Liam. He was my anchor. But anchors, they can also hold you down. As we got into our 30s, something started to shift. Or maybe it had been shifting all along and I just started to notice. My career took off. I was managing a team, flying to conferences in New York and LA, going to fancy client dinners. My world got bigger, louder, more intense. And Liam's world stayed the same. He'd come home from work, kiss me on the cheek, and get excited about a new board game he'd bought online. I started to feel this disconnect. It was like I was living my life in high-definition color, and he was perfectly content in black and white. And the jokes started. They were small at first, mostly with my best friend Jessica. We'd be having brunch, sipping mimosas, and I'd say something like, "Oh my God, you should have seen Liam trying to assemble that IKEA shelf last night. It was a national tragedy." Jessica would laugh, that easy, tinkling laugh of hers, and it felt good. It felt like validation. Like, see? It's not just me. He is a little lacking. The jokes got bolder over time. We'd be out with a group of friends, maybe at some trendy bar on Rainy Street, and the conversation would turn to relationships. Someone would talk about their partner planning this amazing, spontaneous trip to Mexico, or another would rave about how her boyfriend is training for a marathon. And when all eyes turned to me, I'd just shrug, a smirk playing on my lips. "Oh, Liam," I'd say, loud enough for everyone to hear. "His idea of a wild Saturday night is debugging code while watching Star Trek reruns." It always got a laugh. People would chuckle, pat me on the shoulder sympathetically. But the one joke that really stuck, the one that became my go-to line, was about our life, behind closed doors. It started one night with Jessica, after one too many glasses of wine. She was complaining about her own boyfriend, and I, feeling bold, just let it slip. "Honey, at least your man has a pulse. Sometimes I feel like I'd get more action from a wet noodle. Liam is just too weak. He could never really truly satisfy a woman like me." It was a horrible thing to say, I know that, but in that moment, it felt like the truest thing I'd ever said. And it felt powerful, so I kept saying it. Not to his face, of course. I'm not a monster. But to my friends, to my inner circle. It became this running gag. Chloe, the powerhouse, married to the mild-mannered nerd. It defined us. It defined me. Don't you think a woman has needs that go beyond just comfort? Isn't passion a requirement for a real marriage? Or am I just being crazy? This feeling, this gnawing dissatisfaction, it was like a hunger. And Liam, with his gentle smiles and his predictable routines, he just wasn't the meal I was craving. I wanted steak, and he was serving me lukewarm oatmeal every single day. That's when I met Rick. Rick was a consultant our company hired for a big project. He was everything Liam wasn't. He was tall, with broad shoulders that actually filled out his suit jacket. He had this deep, confident voice and a way of looking at you, a direct, almost predatory gaze that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. He walked with a swagger. He smelled like expensive cologne and ambition. He was my opposite in every way. He was a shark, and I suddenly realized I was tired of swimming with a goldfish. Our flirting started in the boardroom. Little comments, lingering eye contact over the presentation screen. Then it moved to emails, then texts. He'd send me messages late at night, things like, "Still thinking about that brilliant point you made in the meeting today. You're wasted on those idiots." No one had called me brilliant in years. Liam would say I was smart or good at my job. It wasn't the same. Rick's words were like fuel. I knew what I was doing. I knew the line I was walking. But I felt this exhilarating rush, a feeling I hadn't felt since, well, ever. I started dressing up for work, picking out outfits I knew he'd notice. I'd find excuses to walk by his temporary office. Every interaction was a hit of dopamine. The thing is, I didn't even feel that guilty. I'd go home to Liam, who'd ask me how my day was while loading the dishwasher, and I'd feel this wave of contempt. This is what I came home to? This quiet, domestic, boring life. I would look at his soft hands, the hands of a man who typed for a living, and then I'd think of Rick's hands, tanned and calloused, and I'd feel a pang of, what? Longing? Disgust? I told myself that this was Liam's fault. If he were more of a man, if he were stronger, if he put up a fight, if he had any sort of edge, I wouldn't be looking for it elsewhere. He had let himself go, not physically, but in his spirit. He had become passive. He had let me become the man in the relationship, and I resented him for it. I needed a man to challenge me, to dominate me, not someone who would ask me what I wanted for dinner every single night. It was his weakness that was pushing me away. That's what I believed. That's the story I told myself. And I guess when you tell yourself a story long enough, you start to believe it's the truth. The first time with Rick happened after a late-night work session. We were the last two in the office. He walked me to my car, and the air in that empty parking garage was thick with tension. He leaned against my car door, trapping me, and that look was in his eyes again. "Chloe," he said, his voice a low rumble, "you have no idea what you do to me." And that was it. I didn't push him away. I didn't say I was married. I dropped my keys, and when he bent down to pick them up, I pulled his face to mine. The kiss wasn't gentle like Liam's. It was hard, demanding, possessive. It was everything I thought I wanted. We went to a hotel downtown, the Driscoll, one of those old historic places that felt expensive and anonymous. I remember looking at myself in the ornate mirror above the dresser, my hair a mess, my cheeks flushed, and I didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. But I liked her. I liked her a lot. The weeks that followed were a blur of secret meetings, clandestine lunches, and late-night texts. I was living a double life, and the thrill was intoxicating. I was sharper at work, more confident, more alive. At home, I was more distant than ever. I'd snap at Liam for the smallest things. The way he chewed his food, the sound of his keyboard clicking away in his home office. Everything about him irritated me. He noticed, of course. He's not stupid. One night, he put his hand on my arm as I was getting ready for bed. "Chloe, is everything okay?" he asked, his brow furrowed with genuine concern. "You seem far away lately." I pulled my arm away. "I'm fine, Liam. Just stressed from work." I couldn't even look him in the eye. The guilt was there, a tiny, cold stone in the pit of my stomach, but I buried it under layers of resentment. How dare he ask me if I'm okay? Why isn't he fighting for me? Why isn't he grabbing me and demanding to know what's wrong? His passivity was, in my mind, permission to continue. I mean, if your partner is clearly unhappy, don't you have a responsibility to do something about it? Or do you just let them drift away? It felt like he wasn't even trying. Then came the credit card statement. It was a Saturday morning. Liam was at the gym. He'd recently started going, a fact I'd inwardly scoffed at. Too little, too late. I was paying our bills online, just a routine task, when I saw it. A charge from a place called Loro, an Asian smokehouse over on South Lamar. It was for over $200. I frowned. I'd never been to Loro with Liam. I was about to dismiss it as a work dinner he forgot to mention when I saw the date. It was a Tuesday night 2 weeks ago. The same night I had told him I was stuck late at the office. The same night I was in that hotel room with Rick for the second time. A cold dread washed over me. Liam never spent that kind of money on a meal by himself. He was frugal. He preferred takeout from the Thai place down the street. $200? That was a date. My heart started hammering in my chest. I scrolled through the rest of the statement. There were other things. A charge for 2 tickets to the Alamo Draft House, a payment to a flower delivery service, a purchase from a jewelry store, a small boutique on South Congress that I knew for a fact sold delicate, artsy necklaces. It was a story, written in debits and credits. And it wasn't our story. My first thought was denial. It had to be a mistake. Maybe he bought a gift for his mother? Maybe it was for a colleague's retirement. But the pieces didn't fit. The timeline, the locations. It was all too intimate. My mind raced. Who? When? How? The hypocrisy of it all was almost funny. Here I was, sneaking around, feeling superior and desired, while my quiet, nerdy, weak husband was... What? Doing the exact same thing? The thought was so ludicrous it made me want to laugh, but the sound that came out was more like a choke. The feeling wasn't jealousy, not at first. It was indignation. It was rage. How dare he? Me? I had a reason. I was unfulfilled. I was neglected. What was his excuse? I became a detective. I transformed into a woman I didn't know, consumed by a single burning mission, to find the truth. I waited until he was asleep that night, and I did something I had never done in our 10 years together. I took his phone from the nightstand. His password was, predictably, the date we met. I felt a surge of contempt. So predictable. I opened his texts. Nothing. His call log? Clear. WhatsApp? Empty. He was clean. Too clean. This was the work of a man who was covering his tracks. The thought only made me more furious. For days, I was a ghost in my own home. I was pleasant. I was calm. But underneath, I was a coiled spring of suspicion. I watched his every move. I analyzed his every word. The gym visits, the late nights at the office, the sudden interest in a new coffee shop near his work. It all looked different now. It was all part of his secret life. The breakthrough came from the most mundane place, our shared Amazon account. I was looking for an old order when I saw it in the search history. He had searched for a book. The 5 Love Languages. Cliched, I thought. But then I saw another search. Best romantic restaurants in Austin for a first date. And another, Sophia Loren Film Festival. Sophia. The name hung in the air. Sophia. It didn't sound like a name from his tech world. It sounded artistic, romantic. A quick search on his Instagram, a platform he barely used, gave me everything I needed. He was following a new account. Sophia Artistry. The profile picture was of a woman with long, dark, wavy hair, paint splattered on her cheek, smiling a genuine, unforced smile. Her feed was full of pictures of her paintings, abstract, colorful, emotional. And there, in the comments of one of her photos, a post about her favorite classic films, was a comment from my husband, from Liam. I always thought Two Women was her best work. We should watch it sometime. It was from 3 months ago. 3 months. Long before Rick was even in the picture. The timeline hit me like a physical blow. He started this. He was the one who broke the rules first. I scrolled through her photos, my vision blurring with rage. There were pictures of her hiking the Greenbelt, something I always said was too dirty and hot. Pictures of her at a farmer's market, holding up a weird-looking heirloom tomato. And then I saw it. A picture of a table at Loro. 2 cocktails, a plate of smoked brisket. The caption, "Some things are worth the wait." It was dated the exact night of the credit card charge. And there, in the reflection of her cocktail glass, I could just make out the distorted image of the man sitting across from her. His glasses, his haircut. It was Liam. I felt the floor drop out from under me. All my justifications, all my carefully constructed narratives about my own affair, they all crumbled to dust. I wasn't the powerful woman taking what she deserved. I was just a cliché, the cheating wife of a cheating husband. But the worst part, the part that truly sent a spear of ice through my heart, was seeing how he looked at her in that tiny, distorted reflection. He looked happy. He looked light. He looked like the boy I'd met in college, before the weight of our life, of my expectations, had settled on his shoulders. And my indignation, my rage, it curdled into something else, something much more painful. It was the humiliation of being beaten at my own game by the one person I never even considered a player. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the living room couch in the dark, the screen of his phone casting a pale blue light on my face. The house was silent. I thought about smashing things. I thought about screaming. I thought about packing a bag and just leaving. But where would I go? To Rick. The thought of telling him, of admitting that my meek little husband had a secret life, was mortifying. My affair was built on a foundation of Liam's weakness. If he wasn't weak, then what was I? So I waited. I waited for him to wake up, to come downstairs for his morning coffee, completely oblivious. I waited to blow his world apart. But I had no idea it was my own world that was about to detonate. The confrontation didn't happen the way I'd planned it in my head. There was no screaming, no throwing of plates. It was quiet, deadly quiet. He came down the stairs, yawning, running a hand through his messy hair. He saw me on the couch, his phone on the coffee table in front of me, open to Sophia's Instagram page, and he just stopped. He didn't look shocked. He didn't look scared. He just looked tired, resigned. "Chloe," he said, his voice flat. "Who is she, Liam?" I asked, my own voice trembling with a rage so cold it burned. He didn't pretend not to know. He didn't lie. He just sighed, a long, slow exhale, and walked into the kitchen to start the coffee maker. The casualness of it, the sheer audacity, sent a fresh wave of fury through me. "Don't you walk away from me," I hissed, following him. "You look at me, and you tell me who Sophia is." He turned, leaning back against the counter, and crossed his arms. The gesture was so unlike him. It was defensive, closed off. "She's a friend," he said. "A friend?" I laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "A friend you take to $200 dinners? A friend you buy jewelry for? A friend you comment on like some love-struck teenager?" I shoved his phone into his chest. "Don't you lie to me. Not now." He looked down at the phone, then back up at me. His eyes, usually so soft and gentle, were like chips of steel. "Okay," he said softly. "She's more than a friend. We've been seeing each other." The directness of his admission stole my breath. I had expected a fight, a struggle. I had expected him to grovel. What do you do when the person you expect to collapse just stands there? "For how long?" I managed to ask. "A few months," he said. "It started around the time you got that promotion." "So you're blaming me?" I shrieked, the volume finally rising. "Because I'm successful? Because I have a life outside of this house? That's your excuse for sneaking around with some arts and crafts nobody?" "No," he said, and his voice was so steady it was terrifying. "It started because that's when I realized you didn't respect me anymore. Maybe you never did. It's when the jokes got worse, Chloe. The comments to your friends about how weak I was, how I couldn't satisfy you. Did you think I didn't hear about them? Jessica's boyfriend told me. He thought I should know what my own wife was saying about me." The blood drained from my face. I thought of Jessica, of our brunches, of all the secrets I'd shared. it was all coming back on me. You don't just get to decide you're not happy and go find someone else, I yelled, my voice cracking. We're married! You're supposed to talk to me! You're supposed to fight for us! And then he laughed. He actually laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. It was hollow and bitter. Fight for us? He said, shaking his head. Chloe, how do you fight for someone who looks at you with contempt? How do you talk to someone who rolls their eyes every time you open your mouth? I tried. I asked you what was wrong. I suggested counseling. You said we were fine, that I was being too sensitive. You didn't want to talk. You wanted me to just disappear so you could live your life without me bothering you. He took a step closer, and for the first time, I felt like he was the one with the power. Sophia. She listens to me, he said quietly. She asks about my day, and actually wants to know the answer. She thinks the things I'm passionate about are interesting, not nerdy or boring. She makes me feel seen. When was the last time you made me feel seen, Chloe? I had no answer. All the air had been sucked out of the room. He had taken my script, my narrative of him as the weak, pathetic husband, and he had ripped it to shreds. He saw everything. He knew everything. And in that moment of desperation, with my world tilting on its axis, I reached for the only weapon I had left. I decided to confess, not out of guilt, but as a counterattack, a way to wound him as badly as he had wounded me. You think you're so perfect? I spat, my face twisted with rage and tears. You think you're the only one with secrets? Well, I have one too, Liam. I cheated on you. I waited for the impact, for his face to crumble, for the pain to register. His name is Rick, I pushed on, wanting to twist the knife. He's a real man, someone strong and successful, someone who knows what a woman wants, and it was amazing. Liam just stared at me. There was no shock, no new wave of pain, just that same bone-deep weariness. And then he said the words that shattered everything. I know, Chloe. I froze. What? I know, he repeated, his voice barely a whisper. I saw the hotel charge on the card last month. I didn't want to believe it, but I guess I'm not surprised. It makes sense. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw not anger, but a profound sadness. Pity. I'm sorry, he said. You're sorry? I stammered, confused. I'm sorry it came to this, he said, turning back to his now brewed coffee. He poured it into a mug, his hand perfectly steady. I'm sorry we let it get this broken, but we are broken, Chloe, and I don't want to fix it anymore. He took a sip of his coffee. I'm moving out today, he said, not looking at me. I'm going to stay with my brother in Round Rock for a while. We can have our lawyers talk about the rest. And that was it. No yelling, no begging, no final dramatic fight. He just ended it. He ended us. My confession, my big, powerful weapon, hadn't been a bomb. It had been a dud. It hadn't mattered, because he had already left me long before I ever walked into that hotel room with Rick. I was left standing alone in our kitchen, the smell of coffee in the air, with the sickening realization that I had never been in control at all. The aftermath was quiet. Too quiet. Liam was gone within hours. He packed a few bags with an efficiency that was chilling. He didn't make a scene. He just moved through the house we had built together like a polite ghost, collecting his things. When he was walking out the door, he paused and looked back at me. I was still standing in the kitchen, rooted to the same spot. For what it's worth, he said, I really did love you, Chloe. And then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. The first few days, I was numb. I walked through the empty house, his absence a physical presence. The space on the other side of the bed was cold. His coffee mug was gone from the rack. The silence was deafening. Then, the numbness gave way to a white-hot rage. How could he do this? How could he just give up? My mind started spinning, creating a new story. He didn't leave because I cheated. He didn't leave because I was cruel. He left because he was a coward. He couldn't handle a strong woman, so he ran off with some mousy little artist who wouldn't challenge him. Sophia. It was all her fault. And my revenge plan started to form. It wasn't enough that he had left. I wanted to destroy him. I wanted everyone to see him for what he was, a liar and a cheater. I wanted to burn his new, happy life to the ground. I started with our friends. I called Jessica, sobbing, telling her a heavily edited version of the story. I told her Liam had been having a long-term affair, that he'd left me heartbroken and alone. I conveniently left out the part about Rick. Jessica was sympathetic, of course. She said all the right things. "Oh my God, Chloe, I'm so sorry. He's such a monster. You deserve so much better." But when I suggested we all get together, that she and her boyfriend and our other friends should cut him off completely, she got quiet. "Well, Chloe," she said hesitantly. "Dave, he kind of knew Liam was unhappy. Liam talked to him a few months ago. He said things were really bad between you guys." The line went cold. "He what?" "He was just really down," she stammered. He said you made him feel really small." I hung up the phone, so they had all been talking behind my back. They knew. They had watched me make my jokes, listened to me complain, and had just pitied me. The humiliation was a physical thing, a hot flush that spread from my chest to my face. My next move was to go after Sophia. I found her art studio's business page and left a scathing, anonymous, one-star review. I wrote about how the artist was an unprofessional homewrecker who preyed on married men. It was petty. It was childish. It felt good for about 5 minutes. The review was deleted within an hour. I even called Rick. I needed an ally. I needed someone on my team. I met him at a bar, my eyes puffy from crying, and laid it all out for him. "My husband left me," I said, hoping for some comfort, some reassurance that I had made the right choice by being with him. Rick just swirled the ice in his whiskey. "Wow," he said. "That's rough. So, you're getting a divorce?" He sounded clinical. He wasn't looking at me with that hungry gaze anymore. He was looking at me like I was a problem to be solved. "Yes," I said. "He was cheating on me. Can you believe it?" Rick shrugged. "Takes one to know one, I guess." He finished his drink and stood up. "Listen, Chloe, this has been fun, but I don't do drama. This whole messy divorce thing, it's not my style. I think it's best if we just keep it professional from now on." And he walked away, leaving me alone at the bar. The shark had smelled blood in the water, mine, and had decided I wasn't prey anymore. I was a liability. The divorce was finalized in 6 months. Liam was, as always, efficient and fair. He didn't fight me on the house. We split our assets down the middle. There were no arguments. His lawyer was polite. My lawyer was confused. She kept telling me we could fight for more, but there was nothing to fight for. Liam had already given up everything willingly. He just wanted out. I kept the house, the big, quiet 2-story house, but it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like a mausoleum. A monument to a life I had systematically dismantled. It's been almost a year now. I see updates from Liam on social media sometimes. A mutual friend will share a photo. He and Sophia moved to Portland. They have a dog, a scruffy-looking golden retriever. In one picture, they're hiking up a mountain, and Liam is smiling, a real, unguarded smile that reaches his eyes. He looks strong, healthy, happy. I am still in Austin. I still have my great job. I still go out for brunch with Jessica, but it's different now. There's a distance between us. The jokes have stopped. There's nothing funny to say anymore. I tried dating. I downloaded the apps, but all the men just seem like cheap copies of Rick or boring versions of Liam. No one feels right. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is silent and I'm all alone, I let myself think about it. I scroll back through the mental tapes of our marriage. I hear my own voice, sharp and dismissive, making those jokes. I see the flicker of pain in Liam's eyes that I chose to ignore. I see him trying, in his quiet way, to reach for me, and I see myself pulling away. I told myself I cheated because he was weak, but the truth is, he was the strongest person I knew. He endured my disrespect, my contempt, my cruelty, for years. He was strong enough to love me even when I was unlovable. And in the end, he was strong enough to walk away to save himself. I was the weak one. I was the one who couldn't handle the quiet, steady work of a real marriage. I was the one who needed the cheap thrill of a new conquest to feel powerful. I broke my own heart, and I have no one to blame but myself. He got his happy ending, and I got the big, empty house. I guess in the end, we both got what we deserved. The question that keeps me up at night, though, is, was there ever a point where I could have fixed it? If I had just stopped, if I had just listened, would he still be here? Or was I always going to be the person who had to burn everything down to see the light?